Seeing no one else currently in the queue to join, so hopefully everyone that intends to join is on. With that said, I will turn it over to Commissioner Prewitt to begin this press conference.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate everyone being here. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names that I know you guys aren't that ugly to keep your video off, but I won't kill you too bad over that. Today, the Great American Conference Council of Presidents voted unanimously to delay the start of fall sports practice until August 31st and competition until Monday, September 28th. This will allow our member schools to focus on opening their campuses for in-person learning, give student athletes more time to reacclimate for full athletic participation, and provide more clarity on the trajectory of COVID-19 issues across Oklahoma and Arkansas. Schedules will begin on September 28th as they're currently drawn up. A decision on makeup games will be made in the near future, as will decisions about GAC championship events. These decisions are pending the calls made by NCAA Division II governance, as well as the NCAA Board of Directors about the status of the NCAA Division II Fall Championships. The primary focus of the GAC Council of Presidents and the GAC Council of Athletic Administrators is to find a safe way to conduct a meaningfully competitive fall for our student athletes, coaches, and campus communities. We will track on guidance from the CDC, regional health experts, the NCAA, outside consultants, and campus medical professionals as we evaluate conditions into the fall. With that, Eric, I'd be glad to turn it back over for any questions.
Yeah, anyone wanted to fire away? I don't yet see any in the chat, so if anyone wants to step up and be bold, you can have the first question.
I'll ask one.
Kelly, go ahead.
Will, do you have any timelines from the NCAA on when they might finalize playoff schedules or their plans for that?
Kelly, a lot of that, the NCAA Board of Governors met today. I'm sure number one on their agenda was to consider banning soccer-style kickers. I know many of you don't know, Kelly Davis is quite possibly the greatest straight-on kicker in the history of Arkansas college football. So, Kelly, once they consider that, Board of Directors talking about NCAA championships as a whole, I have not heard anything out of that meeting. The NCAA Division II Championship Committee, they met this morning. I know that they have greatly expedited their schedules. They originally weren't going to meet until August. And, frankly, there's 23 conferences there. At this moment, there's 13 of us that hope to go forward. And we really need to know on what direction we can go with our schedules, be it we try to wrap it up in the fall, be it the uniqueness of a spring NCAA championship, which could lead to a split GAC season. Lots of unique, strange things. That would certainly be among the strangest, but frankly, that's something I'm very excited about. Some of the leagues that conceivably would only play in the spring we would be looking at, a 7-game schedule tops. Conceivably in a split schedule, we can play 6 games in the fall, 4 in the spring. Whoever qualifies for the playoffs rolls into the playoffs. We're optimistic that even if we go into the spring, that we would still be able to retain the Live United Bowl in Texarkana for our top team not selected for the playoffs. So really, we're at the I hate to give you a long-winded answer of I don't know, but we're at the mercy of those NCAA bodies to get a determination on that.
I just asked Chris Babb not to share that last statement you made with David Sharp because competition has been threatened at times.
Sounds like a good fundraiser.
Chris, your question for Will, you're up first.
Yeah, kind of what you just mentioned, but if the NCAA moves the playoffs to the spring, then are you kind of leaning toward the possibility of a split season if you can still play in the fall?
Absolutely. Now, there's a huge caveat there, Chris. And by the way, charter subscriber, love the work on the site. The big piece on a split season is obviously, can we start in the fall? I'm prefacing everything that we do. Today's announcement does it mean we're going to play on September 28th? No. Does it mean we're going to exhaust every realistic possibility? Yes. If we have the ability to play, currently, if we pick up our schedule first week in October for football, that gives us the opportunity to play 7 games. We would attempt to play those 7 games, come back and have the 3 more into the second semester. But Chris, the piece that I really like conceivably with a split schedule is we've spent so much time when we were thinking, we have to cram everything. One of the things that's so difficult about Division II scheduling compared to the Division I world is in a typical year, we have 11 weeks to play 11 games. When we were thinking a normal fall semester, this year with the reduction of games, you had 11 weeks to play 10 games. If there's medical issues on a campus, you have a high number of tests with one team and you have a no contest, there's no bubble room to try to move that game around. So you run into the possibilities of, this school plays 9, this school plays 10, some of those inequities. But one of the things that we would be excited about a split schedule is it gives you room to try to move games into the second semester if you have to postpone a game for medical reasons. And I don't want to speak too early for our presidents, but I think that idea garnered a pretty good amount of support today. And our athletic administrators, if the spring is an option, we definitely want to use the spring to give our student athletes every opportunity to complete a 10-game schedule.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Mike from Magnolia, you're up.
Hey, Mike.
Just the question that I've got on the screen, what are the current thoughts about fans in the stands, cheerleaders, bands, and their participation in GAC athletics going forward?
Mike, the answer to that is we have a list of things that we're trying to determine right now, and that's on the list. One of the things that is going to make that one of our more difficult decisions, particularly with fans, is the very real possibility of state requirements being different in Arkansas and Oklahoma as pertains to either a fixed number of people that can be at an event or a percentage to capacity that a facility can be filled. So that's probably topic number 1A on our athletic administrator call when we get back together on Thursday. Cheer, band. I wouldn't preclude the fact that we may have cheer and band at a game, but I think across college athletics, I think it's a very low likelihood that you will see cheer and band on the field. I think you'd see something that would look radically different where they're in a section of the stands, or possibly, bands remain in a band section. But Mike, to be honest, all of those things right now are TBD, and it's certainly something that's on our radar. But the best practices that I've seen from just about everyone so far, from high school level going on up, it's going to be difficult to have cheer and band on the field this year.
Anything to follow up there, Mike? Hearing none, Luke McConnell, the floor is yours.
Will, obviously with the postponement to September doesn't necessarily address the stipulation that the NCAA put out as far as testing protocols for the different levels of contact with those risks and everything. Have you had conversations with administrators and the presidents as far as the financial feasibility of the conference schools being able to test the high contact sports in particular within 72 hours of competition, and what have those conversations been like?
Luke, I've had so many conversations that involve the word test that I fussed at my 8-year-old because she brought up the word test, and I said, don't use those 4-letter words around me right now. Luke, I mean, seriously, that's really a huge piece. It's something that, part of the delay is just trying to push through. When you look at the 72-hour requirement with, I shouldn't say requirement, but guideline within the NCAA's resocialization to sports document, that the high-risk sports test and results 72 hours before competition. I'm not sure that there's anybody in America, and I think that you even see members of the NCAA Sports Science Institute that will say that that's not feasible at this moment. One of the things that we're really hoping is when Dr. Hainline spoke to the commissioners last week, hope that testing becomes more readily available, that it becomes cheaper, because where we stand right now, it's a huge obstacle, not only in cost, but in practicality. And the practicality is not just our league. The practicality is, I've heard from major Division I schools that have teaching hospitals as part of their campus, and they can't feasibly get a test back in less than 5 or 6 days. So, I mean, when I talk about we have a high mountain to climb between now and September 28th to compete, testing's obviously one of those big pieces, and a lot of that's out of our control. And we're going to keep our fingers crossed to see where advances go with that. But it could even, if I'm being honest, it could even go the other way. Dr. Hainline warned of a shortage of reagent. So, we have portions of this country where testing period is a very big problem. So, that's really job number one for us to try to tackle.
Any to follow up there, Luke?
Yeah, just with the different levels of risk with those stipulations, do you ever foresee a possibility of the conference playing the low, even the medium contact sports, but not playing any of the high contact sports, or are you just taking it season by season as a group?
Luke, nothing's off the table right now. I really miss the world when I could actually write plans in ink or put plans on my computer. It feels like every plan right now, I can't even put them on a dry erase board. I've got to put them in chalk because, things change so much from day to day, week to week. We've not had extensive conversations along those lines, but I wouldn't say that something like that would be totally off the table.
I'll let someone else jump in here. Dan, I believe you got a question now. Claimed you did at least. Dan, I need to get off mute if you still have a question to ask. I'll just drop him down in one spot in the batting order.
Oh, here we go. I'm sorry.
Don't worry.
Sorry. You got me?
Yeah, you had 2 strikes, Dan, but we're going to let you get a shot in here.
It wouldn't be the first time I struck out. Well, what I was saying, I went through a long spiel there. I basically, when I read the email, got very excited. I thought, okay, we're going. It's a go. But then I actually read the email, and I realized that you're basically just delaying and just kind of keeping hope alive for a season. So, Will, you talked with the presidents this morning. What's your gut feeling? Will we play or won't we play?
Dan, the only thing I can say with absolute certainty right now is that the Reds will finish ahead of the Cardinals in the Central this year. Sorry for everyone. I had to get the opening day crack at, and my good friend Dan Gregory, who has poor taste in baseball teams. But, Dan, right now, I mean, being totally honest, I can't put a number on whether we're going to play or not. If everything goes right, we will play. Our presidents, our athletic directors are committed to trying to find a viable path for us to play. There are 10 conferences that have already decided that they are not going to go down the route of trying to play this spring. I think that we owe more than that to our student athletes than to pull the plug in mid-July or late July now that we're at this point. So we're going to keep fighting. We're going to see what we can make work. And, I really hope that you're sitting in a broadcast booth somewhere the first weekend of October.
And actually delaying till spring would not be a real good option. You got a lot of other sports in the spring.
Yeah, that's going to be really difficult. I think we'll find a way to make this work. I see all of the sports information directors on the call rolling their eyes. But one of the things that I'm the most proud of with the people that I work with, that I've always worked with in Division II is, we don't have a ton of money. We don't have a ton of manpower, but man, we have got some resourceful people that can figure out ways to get things done. If we have to play everything in the spring, will it look exactly the way that it would in a normal year? Dan, I can't tell you that it would. That's certainly part of the appeal of if we're able to do a split season, that some of those pieces aren't so crazy. But again, if that's the only opportunity that we have to give our student athletes and coaches a chance to compete, I've got all the confidence in the world of the athletic directors, all the ops people, the game day folks, the communications people that are on this call. It may not be the way we want to do it 100%, but we'll find a way to get it done.
I'm going to move it down the order here. James from Hot Springs, you're up.
All right. Hey, Will, how's it going?
I'm good, James.
Sorry for the lack of video. I'm on vacation, been working on my house all week so far, so looking kind of rough. But my question is regarding other sports, stuff like cross country and golf, those kind of things. I know that when we're talking about fall sports, primarily we're thinking football and volleyball, but the sports that are little to no contact, does this also apply to them? And, how will those schedules be affected?
I'll say right now it's for all of our fall championship sports, which would include cross country. So right now they would be impacted. Golf is actually a spring championship sport. And I would let our compliance coordinator and my senior associate commissioner, Audra Keedy, I'm sure she would just love to explain all the differences in scheduling between fall sports and spring sports. But I don't want to have to do compliance next week, so I'm not going to ask Audra to jump on and answer that. But, yes, we're trying to figure out what happens with some of those spring sports that are able to compete over both semesters. The day limit each season, each sport has a number of competitive days. We have to make sure that all of that will work out before we can set some of those schedules. The NCAA is looking at waivers. They're being filed by various conferences. So for a sport like golf, right now we're a little bit to be determined, but the bulk of their schedule in the spring would be not impacted. But a sport like cross country right now, they would lose a few meets early in the year. Obviously, if we're at the mercy of the NCAA, if there's no championships, we will push the cross country championship back to make sure that they can get all of their meets in. If they have a spring championship, and cross country is a really interesting thing to try to schedule championships because of the training routine, trying to get your student athletes. You want to hit this peak for conference, hit this peak for regionals, hit this next level, absolutely max out at nationals. So we really need to see what the NCAA is going to do at the Division II level before we can even move forward with what we want to do.
All right, thanks.
Hey, James, while you're doing all that work, I've got a deck in Dardanelle that if you get some free time, come on up and feel free to work on it.
I'll add it to my list.
Thanks, James. Mike Smith, you're up in the queue.
Hi there, Commissioner. Thanks for taking my question today. In light of the fact that we may not have some fans in the stands, any chance the GAC may relax the streaming for streaming video for traveling schools? Any chance of that?
I wouldn't foresee that. We've been very strong, and it's something that is pretty much a standard across college athletics. The video streaming rights belong to the host institution. And, obviously when people come in for radio, that's obviously permissive, but, I think they would be very difficult to try to relax some of those requirements, particularly with the lack of space in press boxes and already having to do some distancing with the COVID requirements. So, Mike, I see where that would be. People would want to hear their particular local voice on watching a broadcast, but the video rights, I would anticipate remaining with the home school.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, and scrolling through, it looks like next, Chris from Wichita, you're up.
Will, could you address the decision to pick up schedules where they were on that week of September 28th through October 3rd, as opposed to maybe going back to the drawing board?
Yeah, Chris, I'm tired of making schedules. No, we've already had so much confusion with, I don't know if confusion's the right word, but we've already gone through one schedule, completely had to redo that schedule and go to a Schedule B once Division II changed their game requirement. We just felt it would be a lot easier, particularly if we think that there's the viability of a spring season, to say we'll just play, we'll pick up where we're at, complete the rest of that schedule, and it's pretty nice and neat. Everything in that September timeframe that we didn't get to play would roll into the spring, or vice versa. We can just roll that into the following weeks that would be left over. Chris, frankly, there's so much going on right now in trying to, possibly alter our championships, everything else from the health and safety perspective with what we're just looking at across our campuses, that redoing one more set of schedules, I don't know that any of our athletic administrators are really up for trying to go through all of that whole exercise. I always joke, I think I have friends until we talk about officiating and scheduling. And right now, I think our 12 athletic directors and athletic administrators are pretty content to just stay with the hand that's been dealt.
Will, Mike McNeil and Magnolia again. Kind of a more broad question. There are a lot of assistant coaches out there who are going to have jobs, you know, whether or not we have sports on the field, but, you know, they didn't sign up to coach badminton. You know, they signed up to be the assistant coach of their school's baseball team or basketball team. I'm thinking this has got to really have a devastating effect on being able to keep coaches. Have the athletic directors been discussing that at all? You know, if it looks like you're not going to be coaching your fall sport or your spring sport, what's really the motivation to stay in coaching?
I mean, it's a very difficult time for coaches, for administrators. One of the pieces that we really hope is no matter what happens from a competitive point of view, whether we play games or not, Mike, is we really hope that the NCAA, and this applies for the folks that have already canceled their falls, because, I mean, this is an all of college athletics. This is all of athletics, period. You know, you're talking, you know, I have friends that are high school coaches who have a lot of the same frustrations, and you know, we really hope that the NCAA, even if there is no competition, they allow us to be a lot more flexible in what we do, in that our coaches are able to work with our student athletes, that we're able to justify while those coaches are on staff, even if games aren't being played. You know, they're still recruiting prospective student athletes. You know, coaches do so much more than X's and O's or you do this fundamental or that fundamental. You know, we think that virtually all of our coaches that, you know, especially in Division II, because we don't have, you know, the huge academic support staff or some of the life skills staff. You know, I mean, these people do so much in our student athletes' lives that, you know, we certainly hope that no matter what, that we're able to retain all of these coaches, because I think they're vital to what happens in the lives of our student athletes and in the lives of our campus communities.
Mike, anything additional? Hearing none, Dorian Kraft, you're up.
Hi, Commissioner Prewitt. Thanks for taking my question. I'm with THV 11 in Little Rock, and I was just wondering, has the GAC made a decision about reporters coming to cover the games, and especially getting out and shooting on the sidelines, since you said there will probably not be a change to the video rights?
You know, that's one that's TBD. Dorian, I've got an email sent in my inbox from the, I believe from COSADA and the Football Writers Association. I would presume that, you know, whatever standards are put in place from a national perspective, you know, we would certainly try to follow those. And, you know, even if we have to be creative, I know you guys don't necessarily like to shoot from the end zones, but, you know, possibly as a solution to make sure that you guys are distanced from other people. I would hope that we could get creative on that, and, you know, certainly would love to have you guys at any contest we play this fall.
I think we'll take the end zones over nothing. So thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Dorian. Jay, you're up now.
Sorry about that. You were talking a moment ago about the way the Division II personnel works, and that, you know, some of these guys, assistant coaches, overlap into other sports, other duties. If there is a split football season, what are some of the challenges that you see with that scenario, from schedule conflicts with the spring sports and then just the health of the players in general?
Jay, great question. And again, you go back to, we keep kind of circling around to the split season. If we have a spring NCAA Division II football championship, I feel much better about our football student athletes playing in spring of 2021 and fall of 2021. If they only have to play 3 or 4 games, it would be a little bit different than the wear and tear of normal spring camp, but you'd be looking at essentially the same time that they're engaged in football activities. It would be a little bit different if we have someone go on a long playoff run. That's one of those file under. It would be a nice problem to have, but that's one of the things. It is a concern if you look at the people that conceivably would play 7 or 8 games in the spring and then have to turn around and play again in the fall. From a logistics point of view, it's going to be pandemonium trying to schedule. I think we're going to have to be a little more flexible with some of our game times. You could look at even conceivably some things that would be very non-traditional in what would be an exceptionally non-traditional year, like conceivably baseball or softball series being split to Friday, Sunday for in-state games. So you could leave Saturday if you have fall sports that you need to finish up, like soccer or football. So I think some of those might be some of the solutions that you would see. But, it goes even further than that, because you look at, the people that, sometimes run the chain crew at a football game or baseball coaches. The people who run the shot clock at a basketball game, is a football coach. The guy that's running the scoreboard at the baseball game is somebody involved with volleyball, or the volleyball coach does public address for the baseball games. I mean, there would be a lot of headaches to have to work through.
Jay, any follow-up? Sorry, I had you on mute for a second.
No, that's it. That's all I had.
All right, Frank Bonner, your turn.
Hi, Will. I know we haven't met. Thanks for having me on the call. Back to the question that you just answered. If there was a split schedule or the football season would have to be moved to the spring, would the ideology behind it have to be like a 2-year rollout, to where the 2021 season fall schedule may have to get, pushed back, and we wouldn't get back on track until the 2022 season? Would that have to be the process of that?
Division II, the discussions haven't gone down that road. Frankly, I'm a little frustrated with our timing. As a division, we've not gotten answers for what we're going to do in 2021. So we've not had any communication on our end that if we have to make these adjustments, that we would see some sort of altered 21-22. But certainly I think they would be conceivable that a football schedule, if we play a spring 21 football schedule, maybe your start date in fall of 21 gets pushed back a little bit. Maybe you see what was going to be a 1-year reduction in games, maybe that becomes a multi-year reduction in games because of so much wear and tear on student athletes. Anything that I throw out there right now, though, honestly, is just speculation.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Frank. Dan, back to you.
Yeah, I think all the serious questions have been asked by now. So I'm going to throw this out there, Will. Have you given any thought to narrowing the playing field, so to speak? We all know that Henderson and Washington Harding are all going to be down this year, so we can just scratch them from the schedule and probably proceed from there, don't you think?
So say Dan,
I gotta stir something up.
Administrators get back together Thursday. I'd be glad to present that proposal if you want to send it to me.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Just don't give him my number.
Any additional questions? Joey, I know you had one that you wanted to bring up. If you want to go ahead.
I just wanted to check because I know that you are still waiting for word from the NCAA Division II and as to how fall championships may be played. But the Great American Conference takes part in the Live United Bowl every year, and there's a postseason opportunity for football in particular, or maybe for other sports. Are there other postseason opportunities?
Joey, we've been in conversation with other conferences. If Division II cancels championships, and the big, the important thing to remember there is cancel, and never has it been so more important, the definition of cancel and postpone. If there's no Division II fall championships, if we can play, be that in the fall, be that in the spring, we will pursue trying to have some sort of postseason opportunity for our student athletes with, it may be the MIAA, it may be the Lone Star, it may be a combination of leagues, but we would certainly pursue that. For anything other than football, legislatively, you're allowed to play in a bowl game. The interesting thing about Division II football is there's really no requirements on what a bowl game is. If you have 2-8 teams that want to play in the Dan Gregory Magnolia Radio Bowl, they can declare that they're going to play in that bowl game. I don't think we're going to see things like that happen, but we would need to get a waiver for any of our other sports like volleyball, soccer, potentially, any other sports that could be affected. We would need a waiver from the NCAA to conduct that postseason. The Division II folks have been really good about granting latitude to help out our student athletes. I think that waiver would be granted. So no matter what happens, we certainly hope that there's it may not be the traditional central region, which feeds into a national championship, postseason participation opportunities for our student athletes. But we're going to try to pursue something for our kids no matter what.
All right. Anyone else? The floor is open, so anyone wants to take a shot, the floor is yours. Otherwise, we'll put this call to an end. So consider this the first final call for calls or for questions.
Hope to see y'all soon.
I certainly appreciate everyone being here, and wear your mask.
Everybody, thanks again. If you do want to talk to Will on a one-on-one basis, just reach out to me and we'll set something up. And again, thank you for for joining us, and thanks for your coverage of the GAC.